What's up, everyone? Welcome back to After the Storm. This is the Canes game review for the 4-3 win in game number 9 of the season against the Chicago Blackhawks. Introing this game, of course, the Canes looking for their 9th consecutive victory to start the season. On the road in Chicago, Patrick Kane is in the lineup for this game against the Blackhawks. He wasn't in the first meeting of the season between these two teams. Frederick Anderson back in the net. Actually, I shouldn't say back. He's been in the net both games. But he's searching out his 8th consecutive victory to start the season, looking to get to that record that Jack Campbell set last year. At the other end, Marc-Andre Fleury in the net, struggling to start the year, and he certainly struggled in this game. We will get to that in a little bit. I had written down as my other point here some line shuffling going on for Rod Brind'Amour. Kotkaniemi moved to the third line, but with the way this game went, the lines all got jumbled. Like literally every forward group, I think, switched up. Maybe not the Martinook, Aho, Teravainen line, which is kind of strange. But every line seemed to get a little bit jumbled, and especially the deep pairings in the third period with the Bret Pesci incident. I say incident like it's some bad thing. He just got hurt, and I have not seen yet what's going on with that, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Early on in the game, it does not start well for the Carolina Hurricanes in this one. A very slow start, capped off by a Patrick Kane flip, kind of up like a Hail Mary pass almost. Not maybe as much as the Erik Karlsson play from the 2017 playoff run for the Sens, where he literally skied it over to Mike Hoffman, who proceeded to have one of the nicest goals in playoff history. Kane just lifts the puck straight up in the air. DeBrincat kind of gets a bouncing puck. Actually, Svechnikov comes into play with his glove, and he just completely misses. Brutal play. If you're going to go up and play the puck, make sure you're playing that puck. Anyways, the puck bounces through. It goes to DeBrincat. He's in all alone. He snipes past Freddie Anderson, and the Blackhawks lead 1-0 early. And after DeBrincat's 5th of the season, it didn't get much better for Andrei Svechnikov on this next play. A bad turnover capped off by a hooking penalty on Jonathan Toews. Chicago ends up going to the power play early on and looking to get up 2-0 in this game. Aho and Necas combine for a very nice shorthanded chance, but it stopped. Carolina ends up killing off the penalty. And right after killing off the penalty, a little bit of momentum back. A nice broken play. I think Svechnikov, right after he came out of the box, he kind of wrapped the puck around, brings the puck around the net, centers it out in front. Tony DeAngelo comes in for a one-timer. It looks like he's going to get so much on it. It comes off the heel of his stick. And who's there but Derek Stepan drills the puck past Marc-Andre Fleury off of the broken play. And we are tied 1-1. Chicago end up taking a too many men on the ice penalty in this one, so Carolina gets their opportunity on the power play. Aho with a nice chance on this power play, but Marc-Andre Fleury would stop that, and the Blackhawks would kill off this penalty. Svechnikov had a pretty rough first period in this one. It was not a good-looking game from him early on. And on the other end, just as the period would end, one player I noticed significantly who would play a role later on, Seth Jarvis was just all over the ice, making so many good plays in this. But we head to the first intermission, tied 1-1. Opening up the second, Patrick Kane gets his first chance of the game. Really, basically the second time he was very noticeable in this game, coming off the assist in the first period to the DeBrincat. He gets a nice chance, kind of works his way back to the slot. A wrist shot stopped by Frederick Anderson. Kurashev right after we get a chance as well, also stopped by Freddie, who looked like he was, as this game starts to slip away here in the second we're going to get to, Frederick Anderson toward the end of this game was a huge difference maker. A 3-on-1 chance for the Blackhawks ends up developing. It gets broken up nicely, but as the puck kind of trails on and the play continues, I think there was a lot of effort. I think it was Stepan, actually, who came back and stopped this whole 3-on-1. And the Canes don't really bail him out or reward him for his efforts. Unfortunately, as the puck comes back to Stillman, it's the point shot goes through, tipped by Patrick Kane, and the Blackhawks lead 2-1. The next up is the Bret Pesci incident, as I referred to it earlier. Trying to win the race for the icing call. He kind of gets tripped up on his own skates, kind of honestly last second kind of panics to make that stop and kills momentum. It looked like he didn't know if he wanted to stop or if he wanted to just glide around, like do like a bit of a wheel around here, but loses his edge, hits the boards so hard. He looked like he was, bracing himself pretty well going in, but he ends up doing like this really bad, it looked like horrible whiplash on Bret Pesci. He was injured. He played a couple more shifts, I believe, in the second period, maybe into the third, but he wasn't seen much in the third period. And for a team already missing a pretty key player in Niederreiter, Bret Pesci going down would obviously cause some issues within this lineup. Back down the other side of the ice, though, a 2-on-1 forming between Trocheck and Necas. Trocheck tries to make the pass across a very good defensive play from a guy who is known as an offensive D-man in this league, Eric Gustafsson, who signed off a PTO with a separate team this preseason with Chicago. Makes a nice defensive play here, breaks up the pass. We remain 2-1 Chicago. Right after this, Brady Shea with a terrible turnover gets completely bodied on this play. A little nice passing play between a couple other players. DeBrincat cleans it up, an easy goal. Terrible momentum swing at this point of the game, and it's 3-1 Chicago. Alex DeBrincat's got his second of the game and his sixth of the season. And at this point, this is when Rod Brind'Amour started really flipping around his lines. Svechnikov ended up going down to the third line where Kotkaniemi had started the game. He ends up playing with Stahl and Foss, and that line kind of seemed to work. It started generating chances pretty efficiently. Trocheck had a chance with Bret Pesci, actually, and Fleury made a nice stop. I believe this is right around the time that we saw Pesci last on the ice. A nice play in his own end by Seth Jarvis, as he was making so many nice plays in this game. He ends up bringing the puck out of the zone, beating the defender in the neutral zone between the red and the blue line of Carolina's, and ends up away on a breakaway. Comes down, fakes the forehand shot, goes to the backhand, sticks it through the 5-hole. It ends up bouncing off the inside of the pad of Marc-Andre Fleury. Nonetheless, it's 3-2. The lead has been cut in half, and Seth Jarvis has his first National Hockey League goal. So this goal was the first one of this game. I just want to keep highlighting these as we go along. Marc-Andre Fleury had a really rough game in this one. Jarvis here beats him on a shot that Fleury probably should have, in these next two goals from the Carolina Hurricanes in this game were both ones that Fleury should have had. Kirby Dach, as this game would really just start swinging. It seemed like as soon as Carolina got down 3-1 in this game, with Brind'Amour adjusting the lines, it just seemed like a complete momentum shift, and Carolina just decided they were taking over this game. Kirby Dach ends up going off for a hooking penalty, sending Carolina, who's got all this momentum, right back to the power play. And Chicago, what they really did is they collapsed and turtled in their own zone a lot in this the late second and into the third period. A lot of blocks on this power play. Chicago ends up killing it off, but the Canes were surging. And that's how we'd end the second period. The Blackhawks have a 3-2 lead heading into the third. And as the third period opens up, Jesper Fast immediately pots a goal. Another one Fleury should have had. Kind of hit him, lost a little bit of momentum, but still ends up in the net. We're tied 3-3. Slavin and Svechnikov, nice passing play on this goal. Svechnikov making the really nice last-ditch, kind of last-second pass across. But it really is, Fast gets this shot. Fleury should have it. It trickles through him. We're tied up. And immediately after that, an innocent-looking wrist shot from the right dot, or the right circle, I should say. I think it was a little bit further out than you'd actually imagine it was. But this shot hits Fleury, drops in between his arm and on his pad, goes through. Canes lead 4-3, and that is the third consecutive goal Fleury gives up in this game that he probably should have had. Got like 70% of the puck and just can't make the save. Ian Cole goes off for interference, sending Chicago back to the power play. Anderson ends up with a big backhand stop off of Patrick Kane. Just patience personified with Freddie Anderson in this one. Just literally just tracks him across, just stays with him. The backhand comes. He's perfectly there. Big save by Freddie. At the other end, Stahl and Trocheck end up with a shorthanded chance, but ultimately the Canes kill off this penalty. Patrick Kane makes a nice pass to Jonathan Toews. Frederick Anderson there again to make a save. Brady Shea ends up taking a penalty to send Chicago back to the power play again. The second hooking call in this game on Jonathan Toews. And on this power play, Jonathan Toews would end up hitting the post. Frederick Anderson makes some wild scrambling saves, keeping the game a 1-goal lead for Carolina. DeBrincat had a great chance, and it was ended up blocked by Ian Cole. And even Aho was at the other end getting another shorthanded chance. This team is so dangerous on the penalty kill even. He wheeled to the net around the right side coming to the left. Got a chance against Fleury, but it was stopped. And Carolina kills off this penalty. The penalty parade would continue. Dominic Kubalik ends up high-sticked. It's a 4-minute double minor. Alex DeBrincat would have a prime opportunity on a one-timer, no guarantee it would go in, but nevertheless he fanned completely on the shot. Marc-Andre Fleury ends up getting pulled with about 2:45 to go in regulation. A Connor Murphy shot from the point, a nice deflection by Brandon Hagel, but Frederick Anderson is there with his glove, making a big stop while killing this penalty. Carolina kills off both penalties. Anderson would make 2 big saves in the dying seconds of this game. One off of a Kirby Doc deflection, the other off of Patrick Kane. And time would run out on the Blackhawks trying to come back into this game. And the Carolina Hurricanes improved to a perfect 9-0-0 on the season as they beat the Chicago Blackhawks 4-3. Before we get to good players, bad players, and everything in between in this game, I really wanted to just talk about the different feel around this team this year. Last year, even with, Mrazek gets hurt, Reimer, has to be around and really picking up the starting slack. And then Nedeljkovic kind of comes out of nowhere, and he has this, Calder-worthy nomination season. And even though this was all great and everything, like, in the deep down, this didn't look like a team that you knew could 100% go through 4 rounds. There was questions on defense with Fleury and Bean, and like both guys are fantastic hockey players, but I'm not sure if they were the ideal third pairing for a team trying to look for a deep playoff run. It was pretty evident in that first round against Nashville, and I think that's really where they lost to against Tampa, was in that first round of Nashville. That really, like, Jake Bean was getting pushed around by Matt Duchene of all people, and that Nashville team really broke something with Carolina last year, and I think it was really just exposing that this team wasn't as good as it could possibly be. And that vibe from last year so far, and maybe I'm jumping the gun, there's 73 games left in this season, but maybe, just maybe, the vibe is different around this team because it's actually different. This team gets down and they don't give up, and they really can turn any game they want to on a dime. It's crazy to think that they were down against Arizona, and literally the only reason they didn't lose that game, while they were getting goalied by Vejmelka, and everything was kind of going the wrong way in that game, is because they just kept sticking with their game plan. And in this game, another prime example, down 3-1 to one of the worst teams in hockey right now. Maybe not like actually the worst, but a team that is severely underperforming. And all they do when they get down 3-1 is just continue to play their game and get their breaks and start scoring goals. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I consume so much Leafs content and listen to the Steve Dangle podcast. I watched the Amazon documentary. I see so much Leafs stuff. And one thing that their head coach Sheldon Keefe has talked about in the documentary and talks about in this season is just, what type of goals are scored, and are they playoff goals? Are they game-winning goals? Are they gritty, grinding hockey goals? Man, does this team score some gritty, grinding goals. I can't think of a more perfect example of a playoff goal that you'd see 1,000 times a postseason. Maybe 100 times is a better word. There's not that many goals in the postseason. But a goal like Derek Stepan's in this game where it's just a broken play and the luck is there. There's enough luck. There's enough skill. It just meets perfectly in the middle. And a guy like Derek Stepan on a fourth line with all this veteran experience pots a goal, gets the team back on the board in this game. It's a very rambling way to say I think this team is so much different from last year's, and I think the vibe so far is so positive that I believe they can go so deep in this playoffs. Now look, that might change at game 20, that might change at game 30, and all the way to game 82 before we get into the playoffs, and we might look quite a bit different with a trade deadline and injuries and everything in between. But for right now, this team looks friggin' legit. Anyways, getting to some players. One aside, Jack Eichel was traded today, so let's quickly address this. Buffalo got a terrible return, and it was pretty much all their fault. Jack Eichel is going to go get his preferred surgery now as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights. And one thing I just wanted to address quickly while we're on the topic of Carolina is somehow, some way, apparently the Canes were involved in this trade up until the end, and I don't really know how. I think it's pretty obvious who the captain might have been in this situation. I think you likely would have saw Jake Gardiner be a piece that ends up going back to Buffalo. I'm seeing a lot of Marty Necas, and at this point, I'm pretty sure he's like an untouchable piece on this roster. At least I'm hoping so, because of how good and what that guy's upside is. I think a lot of people on Twitter were talking about him as a prospect. Man, this guy ain't a prospect. He has arrived in this league. I think it probably would have been Niederreiter, provided he was healthy, or Trocheck. And I don't think they're really looking to trade Trocheck, but the center depth would have been such that probably would have been the guy. I think so, more than Niederreiter in this case. Trocheck likely would have been the one heading back to Buffalo in a proposed deal. I'm speaking hypothetically, of course. I don't want to trade Vincent Trocheck, but in a deal that lands you Jack Eichel, maybe that's something you consider. And then probably a prospect like Ryan Suzuki might have been in that deal, and then maybe it would have been a couple second-round picks that could have upgraded to a first or something. Obviously, Carolina's got one of their picks tied up in a Christian Dvorak trade that Montreal made after the Kotkaniemi offer sheet. They also have a third-rounder that was kind of prominent in the deal today, coming from Buffalo to Vegas, that seemingly is also tied up in that offer sheet situation. Nevertheless, I just want to quickly address how crazy it is that Carolina was even in on that trade. But ultimately, congratulations to Jack Eichel for finally getting the surgery that he so desired and so worked for. Congrats to him. Can't wait to see him in a Vegas Golden Knights jersey and see what he can do, likely in about March this year. I should say March next year. Jesus. 22 is right around the corner. Anyways, on to some players, good players in this game. I got 3 good players for Carolina. Let's start off with Frederick Anderson. Not the best start, but man, did he make up for it in the second half of this game. Key saves, none bigger than that backhander one off of Patrick Kane that he just follows him for. Frederick Anderson, 8 consecutive victories, creeping up on that record. Jesper Fast, I thought was very effective even without his goal to open up the third period. But man, this guy has been a bit of a revelation. He was a guy I was really concerned about coming into this roster on this season, just really due to the fact that like last year he was having a lot of trouble finding his legs and getting stability into the lineup. Obviously that revamped third line, him, Stahl, Niederreiter, has been so good. Unfortunately, Niederreiter out for a little bit here, and as they look for a replacement, it's good to see that Svechnikov might be the guy who fits right there and keeps some of the momentum going. And of course, let's highlight Seth Jarvis. Gets his first NHL goal, made so many good plays, like a one-on-one situation that he beats Patrick Kane in. He gets the nice goal in the second period, the breakaway. What a move against Marc-Andre Fleury. Scores his first goal against a first ballot Hall of Famer in Fleury. What a moment for Seth. And man, like I said in the last video, I'm so happy he's here. Let's talk about some average games. Martinook makes the average list again. I just want to see more from him. Also, I don't really get him being on the top line. I really don't. I don't know what is being seen there, but I think I tweeted this out during the game. And you have Jarvis, who's flying around the ice and having all these opportunities. He's making the great plays. Just try Jarvis up on that top line with Aho and Teravainen. The worst case scenario is it just doesn't work. There's not enough puck to go around, or Jarvis blows an assignment and you drop him back down. But I would really love to see what Seth Jarvis could do with Fishy and Turbo. Svechnikov in this one started off very poor. The penalty, the giveaway, and the misplay on the Patrick Kane pass that opened up the scoring with Alex DeBrincat. I thought he recovered pretty well. He ends up with an assist on the step-on goal in the first period there, but I thought it was a bit of a weaker game from Svech. He has one of these, every now and again. Not too bad, but obviously some stuff we want to see short up a little bit. And I only had one bad player from this game, and honestly, if it wasn't such an egregiously bad performance, I probably wouldn't have said anything, but Brady Shea in this one was not good. Brutal turnover that led to the second goal of the night for Alex DeBrincat. Kind of almost nearly sunk the team. And just a really off night for Brady. And I think that second line is really banged up right now. Pesci especially definitely banged up at this point. But I think Shea's also fighting some stuff too. He's been solid so far this season, but he's had a couple of bad games in this stretch. And to highlight one player from the Blackhawks, I'm going to highlight Patrick Kane in this one. Obviously, maybe the best until maybe Matthews starts, throwing some ridiculous numbers up on the board here in a few years. Probably the best American player we can say right now to ever step onto NHL ice. He's just slick, and he makes the game look so easy, and he's so good at controlling the puck and his backhands and his wrist shots and his passing. He is one of the best thinkers in hockey. He just completely analyzes a play before it happens and knows exactly what's going to transpire. A great assist in this one. He ends up with another tipped goal. A very great start for this guy. I think he's got 5 goals in 2 games since coming back. Or 3 games, I should say, since his return against the Ottawa Senators. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up down below with that like button. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell while you're down there so you can get these videos as soon as they upload. The Carolina Hurricanes are 9-0-0 to start the season. Perfect so far. We'll be back with the next game against the Florida Panthers from November 6th. I'll see you then.